Yeah, that seems like appropriate lighting. Hello. Hi, everybody. Happy Halloween month, y'all. I just got back from a showing of Late Night with the Devil starring David Dastmalchian. Dalmatian. Sounds like Dalmatian. Um, Directed by Cameron and Colin Carnes. This was a mockumentary based on. There was a mockumentary about a late night talk show that got canceled, and this is lost footage of its Halloween episode when the talk show host he wants to do a live exorcism. Sorry. Um, this isn't going to be a very in-depth review. Hell, it's not even going to be a review. This is more video diary about what I just witnessed, because I do think this is one I really want to talk about, because as soon as I heard about it, honestly that's kind of what inspired this whole 31-day project. Was I heard about this film coming out and I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to go see that, and then it just spiraled into like, oh, it'd be really cool to watch a horror movie every day this month. But yeah, I don't want to really go deeper into the plot because I don't want to spoil the fun. And even though this is getting a kind of a limited release right now, I think that if you can see it in a theater, take that opportunity to go and see it in the theater. And I really hope this gets like some kind of wide release season, either through streaming or like Blu-ray, anything. I really think more people should see this, because it felt like a perfect mix of Spinal Tap and The Exorcist in the most fun. Like, it felt like such like a roller coaster that, like, I love found footage films, and I think that this one does such a good job at getting that kayfabe flavor. In the Paranormal Activity review, I talked about films kayfabe, like that's a film that wanted you to believe that it's real. Like, everyone knows wrestling and horror movies are fake, but it's more fun when you're like, oh fuck, that like really happened. And with this one, like, yeah, no shit, you'll recognize the actors, but their performances were so good that like David became completely lost, and like I didn't see like him anymore. I just saw like this talk show host, and even though I recognized like some of the guests on the show, I was so enthralled. And that there was a moment when like movie magic cuts in, and even though it felt a little jarring, I think it played with it so well. I don't know who to attribute this quote to, but somewhere I heard that someone said film is like a shared dream, and this movie really captured that flavor of like group psychosis in a way. Definitely go see this. And I really appreciate the venue Music Box, because not only were they able to put on this dope show, but they also had a small interview with David Dastmalchian afterwards. And I mean, this probably falls into fair use. I know this is kind of a weaker vid, but if you stuck around to this long, I'm going to play some of that Q&A for you. I didn't capture all of it. I was kind of like too jazzed from like what I saw, that like it like occurred to me like it just popped in my head like, oh, maybe I should like film this. This is kind of cool. But yeah, enjoy, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Huge gift. So when you found out you're going to play this late night TV show host, were you a big late night TV show watcher back in the day?
I was the big, like I said, I loved the late night creature feature, and then when I moved to Chicago, I became a big Spenguli fan, and then I've always been a big fan of like USA Up All Night and Joe Bob Briggs and Elvira, and so that space I always loved. And then the talk show host, I was a huge Letterman fan when I was younger. I thought Letterman was like the best. And then both my parents would watch Carson when I was little. So I also really loved shock TV as a kid. I used to really get into like Morton Downey Jr. and that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then in preparing for this role, I just, there's so much, a wealth of stuff that's on YouTube. Carson, Dick Cavett, Letterman stuff, so many great old interviewers and monologuists, and then the guys, Colin and Cameron, they turned me on to a guy named Don Lang, who was the Johnny Carson of Australia, who was also obsessed with the supernatural, and really believed that possibly maybe something could happen. And I watched a ton of his shit.
Yeah, because the film reminded me a lot of
A good city to start your career as a storyteller. It's the only city to start your career as a storyteller. And I believe that. I mean, I don't know of another place that's more perfectly suited if your passion is storytelling and, creative writing, playwriting, screenwriting, as an actor, as a director. It's such a perfect place to start. It's also a perfect place to continue it. It's a perfect place to spend the entire journey. You don't necessarily have to leave Chicago to go somewhere else to do it. It just is what happened for me, because he asked if there was a point at which Chicago wasn't the right place for me. And the reason it wasn't for me at that time, things have changed since then. We're going back right now to 2008, 2007. I was getting opportunities in the theater community, wonderful local theaters, Shattered Globe Theater. I'm still an ensemble member with Shattered Globe. I work with a lot of really kick-ass theaters here, getting to a great place. And people would cast me based on my acting merit. David Dastmalchian is a weird last name, I guess, according to some people. But the theater people didn't seem to think so. It was like, if you're going to play Tom Wakefield in The Glass Menagerie, that's okay. You're going to play a character in a Shakespeare play, that's okay. But at that time, there was like 2 film and TV casting directors in town, and they were the gatekeepers of any opportunities for film and television. Now, there was a guy, and you still hear David O'Connor, who cast commercials. He would let me read for anything, whatever the race or nationality was. But unfortunately, those casting directors at that time, the only thing I would ever get to read for was like characters that were, because my last name is of Middle Eastern descent, it was like the cab driver or the terrorist. I'm not joking. And I was so tired of that, because I was like, I want to try for something else. Let me go after something else. This huge casting director from Hollywood, luckily, happened to come to LA, who's casting this big, giant movie based on a comic book property for one of the greatest directors of all time. And he's the first director to let me come in and really audition for something that wasn't so ethnically boxed in. And what was funny was the people in Chicago had said, oh, don't go to LA, they're only going to see you for a certain thing. And I was like, the only thing I'm getting seen for in Chicago is for this certain thing. Now, that has, I believe, significantly changed. There's been a huge influx of film, television, and stuff in Chicago, and I think there's a lot more. I think the way we look at actors has hopefully changed in the last 10 or 15 years since but at that time, boy, man, it was really hard. So I was really lucky that this guy came in, and I was able to get that audition, and I was able to change my life, and then I was like, movies is what I wanted to do at that point. I still want to do as much theater as I possibly can, but movies became my passion, and I felt like I had more chances to get seen for more roles by going to LA. So that's why. All right. I don't believe, as much as it may look like from an outside perspective that I've just been the architect of a career built on certain types of characters or movies, the truth of the matter is I am at the mercy of the audition process and the directors that have chosen to give me those roles. So I will say I think very often, very fondly about so many different roles I've gotten to play. Jack Delroy is one that I think and I just smile, wow, what an amazing opportunity someone gave me to play this. But from, Polka Dot Man all the way to Tighter Degrees and everything in between, like micro-budget indies like Relaxer, the 2 things that maybe pushed me in ways and helped me grow in ways I know maybe I wouldn't have any other way. I wrote a film. I did not direct it, but I wrote a film. My friend Colin directed, called Animals, that we shot in Chicago, and that was that's a performance when I look back on that I think I broke into some new ground as an actor and really changed. And I'd say the collaboration that I got to have with an artist who helped me really find that every time you think there is a gap of space for some nuance and a shadow in there that you can climb in and explore, you can squeeze your whole body into it, and then there's a million more cracks of space for you to get even deeper into the nuance in between, because we all know life is so much more complicated than we're often presented in film and in all narrative, because there's time compression, and we need to know, does this character feel this way? Does this character feel this way? But sometimes it's really important to try and feel all the things that you need to be feeling, even if maybe ultimately that character is just a creepy guy, or he's just an angry guy. There's so much more of it than that. So I'd say probably the journey Denis led me on in Prisoners was one that really...
All right, another big hand for